Here is a surefire way to decide whom to hire between multiple applicants of equal experience. Did you know that hiring an employee from start to finish can easily cost thousands of dollars and take more than 40 hours? Find out how to complete the recruitment process quickly, and if you're lucky to have an equally qualified candidate pool, how to zero in on the best applicants. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. How are you doing today? I'm doing fantastic if you were to ask me. And if you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. Today I want to talk about a very interesting topic. Here is a surefire way to decide whom to hire between multiple applicants of equal experience. Number one, take a thorough look at the entire job application. What I want you to do is, if you have 2, 3, or 4 candidates who have equal experience, they are equally qualified, and you just so confused about whom to choose, go back to the entire job application. You want to carefully examine the candidate's job application. You want to look at how long they stayed in a position. Did they stay in a position for more than 2 years? Or are they job hoppers? Do they hop between jobs every year or every 6 months? Now, if they stayed at a single company for more than 2 years, is it clear that they progressed in responsibility? In other words, did they start, let's say, as a junior manager or a junior finance manager, and did they move after 2 years or 3 years to senior manager? Because progress in responsibility and accountability is a surefire sign of what? Of performance, of management trust, of credibility, of reputation. You also want to pay attention to if there I would say social implications. Is there any sign that they invested in company growth outside of their job responsibilities? For example, did they engage in company sponsored community events? Did they do extracurricular activities, right? Most companies nowadays have something called CSR. This is corporate social responsibility. It is a paradigm through which companies are giving back to the community, to the communities where they are based or where their clients live, work, and socialize. So you want to make sure that the candidates you're actually hiring has some kind of empathy, quote unquote empathy for their employer, right? They're willing to get out of their comfort zone and invest in company growth outside of their job responsibilities. So you want to check that. So while you do that, it should be clear to you that the more commitment and investment a candidate shows, the more likely it is that he or she will grow with you as your needs change. And this consequently will make that employee a valuable asset in any business environment. So those are little pointers that you have to pay attention to while looking through the entire job applications. And you can do this by going through their resume. You're literally scrutinizing every little thing. Number two, after you take a thorough look at the entire job application, I want you to do this. You want to close your eyes and you want to visualize how future roles fits with candidate skills, strengths, and interest. Let me explain that. You want to move beyond the job description. Right now, let's say you want to hire someone for a marketing manager. That you have a job description, everything is clear, is clear cut. You know the person you want them to have a bachelor's degree, 5 years experience in the industry, blah 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 blah. Now you want to move beyond this job description and project yourself in 5 years, and project also the incumbent in that position in 5 years. Just form a rough vision for where your department will be in 6 months or 5 years or 3 months or 3 years, and again in 1 year. So by doing that, you're actually doing some kind of analysis, some kind of long-term or short-term analysis, and you're projecting yourself. And you want to sketch out the likely roles that will be needed to support the department at this point. You're the one hiring, so you know your department better than anybody else. And if you don't know your department, you want to double check with your boss or your boss's boss to have a clear view of the department needs and vision and mission in the next 5 years, in the next 6 months, the next 1 year, whatever it is in the next year. So based on applications, references, tests, portfolios, and interviews, you can imagine which candidates you can visualize being able to fit into one of these roles. Let me give you an example. Going back to my earlier example about marketing manager, you hire someone who is just marketing manager, and you're thinking 2 years from now, you might need somebody who is a marketing director. The question is, 2 years from now, based on the role, based on the department, based on your own workload, who among the candidates do you believe can best fit that role of marketing director, right? So which one is a stronger contender for becoming a future manager or a strategic leader based on their past experience, performance, and interactions? You have to understand, how do you judge that? This is not, we must be very rational here and very, very objective here. No subjectivity. You want to look at the person's past experience, performance, and your own interactions through the interview with them to see who will fit, right? So before we take a quick break here, number one, take a thorough look at the entire job application. Number two, you want to see how future roles fits with the candidate's skills, strengths, and interests. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are still talking here about a surefire way to decide whom to hire between multiple applicants of equal experience. Now let's quickly talk about number three, the third thing you need to do. But before I do that, please consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already done so. And most importantly, turn on the notification bell so you are informed whenever we drop a new show. And we do this every single day. And comment below, like, and share this content. I really appreciate it. The third thing you need to do is to weigh candidates' respective curiosity and passions for your industry. Now, this is very important because you want to spend some time weighing the passion for and curiosity about your industry and business. You might have candidates that are equally competent and qualified, but what is their respective curiosity and passions for your particular industry? Here I'm not talking about just having the skill set for the role itself. I'm talking about the industry where your company is operating. So this should be part of any interview process anyway. But more often than not, it takes a backseat to quirky, what would you do if you have any experience with? No. Now you want to go back and ask them follow-up questions, and you want to consider what they said during your interview. For example, did one candidate inquire about the future of the company, about the future of the industry, about the future of rivals, about the impact of future regulations? That kind of a questioning tells you whether or not a candidate is curious, is keen on learning more about the industry. Did the candidate ask about how his or her own experience and interest might fit in as the company grows, right? Was the applicant enthusiastic about the company's mission and overall position in the industry? Again, we don't want job hoppers. We want people who are fully immersed into the industry, who are really interested into the company. So this is something you need to think about. Was the candidates open to learning about the day-to-day work required for the role they're applying for? Did they ask any follow-up questions? Again, here you're trying to gauge the interest level of the employee, right? So if an employee asks you about follow-up questions, you know he or she is interested in a long tenure and will not job hop very soon, and he or she is looking forward to growing as the company grows also, and see the whole thing as a big step towards personal and professional investments, or professional growth rather. Number four, you want to examine the application process, communication. What I'm trying to say here is that communication is very important. Communication can be email, phone calls, can be letters. We live in a world where people don't write letters anymore, but in some industries, it's kind of cool. So you want to consider his or her communication throughout the application process. Did he or she respond fast and professionally to your email and phone calls? Did he or she follow up after phone, video, or in-person interviews with thank you notes, right? You want to gauge that level. Again, somebody who is really interested in your industry, in your company, in the role will be very quick and will be very polite, right? Business etiquette here is important. You want to ask whether that applicant worked to accommodate your schedule for these interviews, right? Because if a candidate did all of many of these things, he or she will likely be a more engaged employee, which makes them ultimately an asset for your team. All right. So number 3, you want to weight the candidate's respective curiosity and passions for your industry. And number 4, you want to examine the application process communication to find out whether or not they were very responsive, very courteous, very polite, very professional whenever you reached out to them. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Q. We're still having a conversation here about how to decide whom to hire between multiple applicants of equal experience. And I've already given you 4 steps. Now let's talk about the last one. Number 5, seek feedback from others. Now, if you are in a big company or in a small company and you're sort of like if you're torn between multiple candidates, torn in terms of decision making, you want to seek feedback from others. Why? You want to brainstorm with other people who are relevant stakeholders to that particular role or the department in which you are, and you want to ask their feedback. So this could be potential colleagues of the candidates. So the person whom you're going to hire, you want to ask their future colleagues how they feel about a particular applicant. You also want to inquire with other departments with whom the candidates will certainly work in the future, right? So now we're going from your department and colleagues within that department to other departments, and this could be in the same region, in the same office. It could be in the same country. It could be global if the company is big enough. You also want to pay attention to any candidate's list of professional references. So you might want to double check here and contact them, talk to the references, and ask very clear questions. Again, folks, the idea here is not to unfairly throw people out of the candidate pool and reject their application. The idea rather is to go about it very rationally and objectively. You want to make sure you make the right decision, and you want to make sure that you are choosing the candidates with a lot of pros in their bag and the fewer cons. You want someone who has a lot of pluses and fewer minuses. Another way to also seek feedback from others is to seek feedback from the almighty internet. You can do a Google search or a Bing search and try to know the person a little more from social media. If they have some social media information, if they have been involved in professional organizations in the last 5 to 10 years, if they've had some volunteer activities, if they've had some media citations. The whole thing here is that you want to know more about the person who ultimately you are going to hire. All right, this is it, folks. So just to recap, a surefire way to decide whom to hire between multiple applicants of equal experience, you can do this in 5 steps, 5 easy steps. Take a thorough look at the entire job application. See how future roles fit with candidate skills, strengths, and interest. You want to weight the candidate's respective curiosity and passions for your industry. You want to examine the application process communication. You want to seek feedback from others. All right? I will see you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.